Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So what do I do with an iron condor when we break resistance in
Mhm.
particular? Remember last week's Jedi Options, we introduced why iron condors make money. That's a good companion piece to today's conversation. So if you need that primer, go back and watch the last video. But you're right. We're in a situation now. This is very relevant. Market could get some upside follow through here. So what do I do with those bear calls? In reviewing this, you have options, you have choices. There's multiple ways of managing it. I will just mention for this particular month, you would have April on at this point. We even did a May trade this week, and actually last week in the Cash Flow Condors Mastermind Group meeting. So I'm going to give you the strikes that we're tracking, and we'll use those as an example. Okay, so for April, we're in a tricky situation these days with the Russell, where the options exchange is being ornery, annoying, and they're not listing enough strikes, Matt. So recently we haven't been able to use RUT because they're going 50-point wide with some of the strikes. We've been playing with IWM, it's ETF, and I just checked the April options. For April, the bear call is 230. All the way up at 230, 230, 235. And in fact, it's the same for May. And that's the equivalent of the Russell at 2,300. Okay. So that's about the distance out of the money you would have been at if you followed the general guidelines. So the first thing I would say, so again, we got a 20, let's just say 2,300, 2,310 bear call. Okay, what to do when resistance is broken? Answer number one, in terms of how we manage this, is do nothing. Do nothing. Rely on the high probability nature, the distance, the far distance out of the money that you are, and let nature take its course. This was not designed to require a lot of micromanagement. Gives you plenty of room. And quite honestly, we don't just need to break 2,100 for you to be wrong. We need to break 2,100 and then go up 10% or so. That's a big move. That's a big move. So you might be far enough out of the money as is. The odds are still low if you're selling these 10 delta, 8 delta credit spreads. We've planned for this to a certain extent. Now, that said, some people say, okay, I get it, let it be, but I'm curious and I want to tinker, I want to be more hands-on. So what else could I do if we break resistance? If I think we got a clean shot from 2,100 to 2,200, 2,300, are there ways I could tilt the condor to adjust for this more bullish move? Yeah, you could do a few things. The first thing you could do is you could roll up the bull put side to bring in more premium. And so, for instance, let's say that my original bull put was at 1,700. And I had a bull put at 1,700 and a bear call up at 2,300. And obviously, with the market going up, I'm making money on the bull side. But I'm probably getting close to making most of the money I can make. I mean, we're not selling these for $3. We're selling these for maybe 60 cents. So maybe my bull put spread is 10, 15, 20 cents. There's not a whole lot left. Maybe I take that off, ring the register, and sell a new one up at 1,800 or 1,850. I pull in the winning side. I roll up sometimes what's called the untested side of the condor, and you get more credit. That additional credit will help offset any loss incurred on the other side. So first things first, I could pull up the winning side. What's the drawback? Well, the drawback is you shrink the range. If this is a fake out and the Russell goes above 2,100 and you roll up your bull put, and then we plunge, you don't have as much room on the downside as the original one. So you are shrinking the profit range a little bit. But admittedly, you're not as concerned at this point on the downside because we're breaking resistance and you're more concerned on the upside. That is a free play. You're not adding cost to the trade because they have already held up the money on the original bull put. You rolling it up to a new one, you're not adding money to the trade. You're just getting more credit and shrinking the range. That I think is something you could do. Another one that people talk about that I'm less keen on is rolling up the bear call, where they'll say, hey, this, which in this case, 2,300, you're far enough away, I wouldn't do anything, but let's pretend like you're at 2,200, right? We break out and you're concerned we're going to get to 2,200. Maybe you close it and you roll it up to a higher strike price, just to give yourself a little more room on that side. The reason I don't like that technique is because you have to pay a debit to roll. It costs you money. And that in turn reduces how much money you can make while increasing the risk in the trade. I prefer to make adjustments that reduce the risk in the trade or reduce the cost of the trade or increase how much money I can make. And rolling up doesn't do that. It increases your probability, but it decreases the payout. So I don't like rolling up the losing side. What I would rather do is roll up the winning side or add other bullish hedges. Add other bullish hedges. When you do a Condor, specifically cash flow Condor, since this is a monthly kind of core system that we do, or that you could do kind of every month, you have to ask yourself, what role does this play in my entire portfolio? Do I treat this as a standalone trade, or do I treat this as a complement to the rest of my portfolio? And here's why that matters. If you treat cash flow condors as a standalone trade, you might get very concerned if you have a losing month on this. Oh, I got to do everything I can to add, roll up the bull put if we break out, maybe add additional bullish trades on the rut, additional bull puts or bull calls to hedge my bear call. Yeah, you could do that because you're concerned if we get to that bear call, you lose for the month. Okay, I get it, but recognize that you've got to micromanage the thing, and you've got to add other bull trades if we break 2,100, and that runs the risk that it's a fake out, and you get whipped, and it goes back down, and you lose on those extra trades that you added, and so instead of your hedge being a value add, it actually made you worse off because your timing wasn't great. So listen, that's part of the trade-off. What you might do instead is modify the rest of your portfolio. Let the Condor live and die by its own merits. Don't micromanage it. If we break 2,100, cross your fingers we don't get to 2,300 because that's your bear call. And if we don't, you're good. And you not hedging didn't matter because you didn't end up getting up to the bear call anyways. But what if the rest of your portfolio is bullish? Sure, the Condor, if we break 2,100 and run to 2,300, that Condor will lose for that month. It becomes bearish as the market goes up. But, maybe I got a bunch of other bull trades in my portfolio. So I don't feel the pressure of scrambling to do something bullish on the rut because my other systems are leaning bullish. And so when I take a step back and I look at the role that the cash flow Condor plays in the broader portfolio, maybe I find it better to just add other types of bull trades that maybe have better patterns than me being forced to add a hedge on the rut on a breakout. I have found that to be a much more elegant solution. Psychologically, it's easier to do. And one example would just be owning IWM, the ETF that tracks the rut. Anytime the rut goes up too much, I make money because I own the rut. I do things like covered calls and naked puts on the ETF. And those are already a natural hedge to the rut going up too much. And so for me personally, I'm never all that worried when the rut breaks resistance. Indeed, it's more a concern if it breaks support, which is a conversation for another day. But maybe look at that. You know, look at the role it plays in terms of the whole portfolio. Use other things, other trades to offset. You don't feel as much angst, I think, if we take out 2100.